Hello, Scott. Hello, Rhys.
Hello,
Hello.
Peter. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Is it morning, afternoon, night there? I'm not sure.
Oh, it's night for us. It's like 5 past 9.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, I'm in the future, so I'm going to say you're going to have a good night and a good morning. We'll go that far. I'll say, first of all, to you, Rhys, obviously, congratulations on the success of the original film. Like, were you expecting that reaction?
To the first film. So, in terms of the scale it went to, no. When it was made, kind of we had a conveyor belt of projects going at the time, and I was still quite early in my career then. I'd like directed recently, and I was just going full steam ahead. I thought it was a really good idea, so I thought I wanted to direct it and make it as good as possible. Then it blew up and went absolutely mad. And I remember thinking, like, oh shit, everyone's gonna see this film now. So what do I do? And then it was made on very, very little money.
Mm,
Like the first one was only like the principal photography was only 20K. Then obviously it was hugely commercially successful, which was amazing. And then that opened the doors to a sequel of a significantly higher budget.
mm,
And then that let me kind of essentially start again and think, okay, what if now I've got more time and I've got more resources, what do I actually want to do with
mm.
this concept?
Yeah.
And hence why there's been so many changes.
Yeah. And Scott, coming into this one, had you already seen the first film or did you need to watch it realizing you're going to play this character?
I actually produced the first film with Rhys. Obviously I was very much along that journey with him. So when he said to me, I'm gonna I'm gonna start again basically, and I'm gonna make the first film a film within the second movie, so he could redo the characters, the looks, and recast all this kind of stuff. I said, yeah, it's cool. And then he was like, do you wanna do Christopher Robin? Because he's been along my acting career with me,
Hmm.
and he's always like been supportive and stuff. And he said, would you like to play Christopher? And I was a bit intimidated, just because of the mixed reception the first one got, and I do feel bad for like those involved because I don't think anyone was expecting that to happen. Like they all thought it was just going to go on Amazon Prime or something like that, and then it blew up, and then everyone's getting judged in so many ways. And I think I was mostly intimidated, because it how hard you try, it doesn't matter. Like I feel like being an actor, the face of Christopher Robin
Hmm.
in Winnie the Pooh as a horror, people are going to want to drag me down and say nasty things. And I think that is something that, I was really nervous about because, you got to have a really thick skin and stuff. And with my acting, I'm very like, I've never experienced this. So I just didn't know how I was going to handle it. But I didn't really take note of what the performer in the first film did. I just did my own thing. Um, and I kind of thought, like he starts in a place, this massacre happened to him a year ago. And like, how do you play a character likable still? Because he's in so much of the movie. And
Hmm.
you don't want to see someone that's just constantly down and out, having a mental breakdown. And I was like, give him hope, let him smile whenever possible, and just try and bring vulnerability and a truth to it, really, because there's certain points in the film where you really need to use your imagination because it goes so wild, and there's nothing quite relatable in real life. So yeah, that was my approach.
Yeah. And like I mean I am a horror fan and I've been fortunate to speak to a lot of genre stars and filmmakers and I always love knowing what the gateway movie into the genre was. So like for both of you, was which horror movie was it that like got you interested in the genre?
So mine is definitely Scream, without a doubt. When I was 6 years old, it was put on. My sister was babysitting me. She put it on, and
Mm.
they covered my eyes every time someone died. And they said, like, with Rose McGowan, when she got her head in the garage, they were like, she jumped down and she ran off into the woods. So I was like, oh, okay, oh, cool. I was like 6. And then for my 7th birthday, I'd been going on about how much I liked it. And my brother bought me the video for it. And I went upstairs pretty much that night of my birthday and I watched it on my own. And I'm actually seeing Drew Barrymore getting stabbed in the throat and, Rose actually getting her head crushed. And I'm like, oh my God. And I was so scared, couldn't sleep that night. And my mum was like to my brother, get in his bedroom and explain to him what a film is. And that's why I wanted to become a filmmaker.
Nice. And Reese?
I probably say like either Chucky or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but only the 2003 one. I remember when I was a kid, they were the ones which we put on, and I loved both of them for different reasons. Like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like 2003 one. I loved that as a kid. I actually didn't like the 1978 one or whenever it was. For me as a kid, I was like too old. Like this one's like newer and cooler. And I loved all that. And I found him really scary. And I honestly thought he was real because it was marketed all about it being a like a true story.
True story.
And even though I was in the UK, I was shitting it that he was gonna like get on a plane and he would be down my street or something soon. Like this absolute monster. So I love that as a kid, and also Chucky. I've got this like love for like the B movie like horror comedy side of it. So that's why I was kind of I gravitated towards that as well.
Yeah, I mean, and then going off that, like the first round of kills in this movie is insane. Like I was just like, yes, like killing. I was like.
Oh.
Like it's just like and like as there's so much like physical effects, practical effects in it, but like just watching these, you know, the girls, I was just like it's horrific, but I was like someone who loves gore, I was like, this is great. And then obviously like there's like the Raver massacre. Like, is Matt Leslie like is he presenting these to you as is, or is there a lot of collaboration as to like this is how we're going to kill this girl, we're going to like break both of her arms and put her head in a bear trap? Like how does it all come about? Because I'm just like fascinated by knowing when movies have really elaborate death scenes, like where that comes from.
I would say in terms of the death scenes, like me and Scott, because this is the horror we gravitate towards. And we love like, you know, the slashers like Jason, Freddy and all of these. So we're thinking a lot about these kills. So those girls getting absolutely massacred. I think me and Scott were thinking about that in a pool somewhere, and we were just sitting in a pool just talking about how they can get brutalized. And I just thought there's really weird imagery here about her being on the floor, like with all of her arms broken, her legs broken, and a bear trap going underneath. I thought there's something really like fun about that. As horrible as that sounds, like it's quite fun. And also it's meant to be self-aware, that bit. Like ultimately, before you go into that scene, it's like, you know, Simon Callow, the narrator, is like, there's going to be many casualties along the way, and then boom, then you're there and you're like, okay, these girls are about to get messed up. And the idea between that, it's almost like a little bit of a bridge between the first film and the second, because in the first film, that is basically what happened. It was a bunch of girls who just got obliterated. And this film, we thought, okay, it'd be fun to introduce these. You think, oh, are they going to do something like the first film again? And then within 3 minutes, like they get wiped out, and then the main story begins. And then the deaths become a bit more like they're a bit more. They're still fun, but there's like some of them are a bit more sinister and a bit scarier. Like the ones which follow up with the hunters, like some of that's really like, I think some of that's actually really scary, much more so than, so it's a different kind of like, there's a slow tonal change. But in terms of how we like worked with Matt, which was your question, Matt is really like, he loves going into the story, and that's what we mostly fleshed out with him. And then we kind of said at the start with him, look, don't worry about the death scenes, because the death scenes, because we're working on such a limited budget at the time, what happens on a lot of these budgets is you kind of improv stuff on the day. So you get to a location. This is what happened with Tigger. I just get to the location, you start looking around at what you have. You know, you've got to kill 5 people in this place in the next 12 hours. So you start thinking of what sort of scenes you can do. So, for example, in the teaser which announced, where the girl's got her eyes plucked out and she's crawling towards that hole, that was all just improv on the day. It was just like, okay, this would be really fun. And then the other girl who's dancing on the grates and all blood's tipping down, that was just improv on the day, because the grates were just big enough for his fingers to fit through. So it was like, okay, that would be really fun. So a lot of that was just kind of on the fly, making things work well. Some of them was pre-planned though, like the dishwasher scene, because that was necessary to get the really good kind of like practical effects there. And in order to make sure they worked well, we got a really good company on board called the Prosthetic Studio, and they've worked on like Voldemort, and like Red Skull and like Captain America and stuff. So they've done big stuff. So we knew they'd make it look really, really awesome. And my personal favorite is that Aaron, his face, where he's like, I think he's seen him in the trailer after he's had his face blown off, and they try and repair it, but they do a terrible job. And it's meant to be like that. It's meant to be over the top, and it's like a bit dramatic. And like, I love that moment when he turns his face, and he just looks like an absolute mess. Like, this was a bit. He's overly dramatic, but it was fun. Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you, Scott. Like, do you have a favorite kill, a favorite death scene in this movie?
Yeah, it's so hard because there's just three that stick out. I'll try and like whiz through them, but there's the girl with the limbs and the bear trap. I just think that's savage. It just goes on and on and on, and it's like this poor fucking girl. Like it's just ruthless. So I'd say her, and then the dishwasher one is just like that is something. Basically, I was developing a Steamboat Willie film last year that I ended up, we pulled away from it. We said we weren't going to do it in the end, because when you looked into the legalities of it, it was like it's actually not quite what you think. But when I was looking into that, I had this idea. I was like, what if there's a dishwasher and a knife's pointing up, and Mickey Mouse pushes her head on it, and then he starts eating his cheese as she's dying. Anyway, so I had that idea, and then I'm so glad because I told Rhys and I was like, please use it, and he was like, no, I really like it. And then Rhys kind of went above and beyond to make it like not just one knife. He was going to use a whole bloody load of cutlery. But yeah, I think that one, just because it's so disgusting, and I always have this fear because I used to live with a housemate and they used to put the knives in upside down, and I was like, what if I tripped and what if I fell on that? And I always thought of that, and that's where that came from. And then the final one, it's just because it's so fun. But on the day, it was all made up. It's the great one that Rhys is talking about. So it's Tigger. And there's a girl. We saw the greats, and I went to Rhys. Have you seen House of Wax? And he was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, Paris Hilton, her foot in the grate, and it gets stabbed. I was like, what if we do that? And then because I was doing costume on the job, so I'd put the dog collar on that actress, and I was like, what if the dog collar falls over the balcony? And Rhys was like, yeah, yeah, and he grabs it and he holds her in place and he stabs the crap out of her. So those three, just because one is, just goes, it's just ruthless. One is disgusting, and one is just fun. So I can't. I love all three. What about you? What's your favorite one, Peter?
And with these, by the way, just a caveat with some of these, like on the off the first film, I had like a load of like fun deaths there, and I had a lot of people going, "Oh, he's so like misogynistic, like he hates women and stuff."
Oh yeah.
But it's like people don't know, but I'm like LGBT, so to me, it was just fun.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was just doing it because it was coming from like a positive, fun place. So, and that's the same with all of these. Even though a lot of the times, just because horror films like to have like female leads, they like to have a lot of girls in it. It's a bit tropey. It ends up being a lot of girls who are having these like horrible things happen to them, but they're always up for it, and they're laughing on the set as well. So we're all having a good time.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I'm a queer man, and it's just like there's something about women in horror movies. I was like, they just get better death scenes. It's better to see them.
I agree. Yeah,
better to see them scream. Like it's not misogynistic to, like, I mean, it's not fun to watch. Like it is fun, but it's not fun because you're like that. If that was actually happening, that's horrible. But watching it, you're like, yeah, if I can break her arm again, like that, that sort of thing. But yeah, no, like I think if there's a horror movie, I'm just like, I'd prefer to watch a bunch of girls than a bunch of guys, and that's just because
me too.
I think the horror, it's weird. It treats women better, even though they're victims so often. But for me, I think like the opening one, the bear trap, the arm, like that was just like one that I was like, yes, like every time he grabbed her, I was like, yep, do it again. That's what's gonna happen. And I did like the knives because that just surprised me, and then because I thought, oh, that's gonna keep happening. So like I'm someone in horror movies, I'm like the gorier the better. So I was like, and looking at what you guys have done here, I'm like, I was like, you would be Final Destination, you would be amazing with that. You'd be able to like on everything. But you were mentioning before about the legalities, and like obviously, when these things go up, like, are you already, I put this to both of you, like, are you already planning these stories to be like, as soon as this is public domain, we can do it? Or do you almost like you wait until it's public domain and then you start? Like, are you able to start filming or able to start using it before that? Kind of almost like in secret, or do you have to wait until it's public domain and then you go, okay, now we can make it?
Yeah, there's a really tricky line with all of this, because some people have tried that. Like, I don't know if you've seen that Mickey's Mousetrap, which got
Yeah.
filmed, and we've heard from people that they are unable to get insurance at this point. And someone's told us and said they can't. You need to get this insurance to get the film released. And we've heard it's basically impossible. And the reason for that is it's super dodgy ground. Like, it was really, really difficult to get it even for like Winnie. Let alone that character. So just because something falls into the public domain doesn't mean it's like an easy ride to quickly get it through, because it can be really, really hard. And we don't actually want to do that, because the reason we didn't go for Mickey, like Winnie Steamboat Willie in the end, is partly that we felt like, okay, there's something happening here legally. We also felt like there was going to be a big like rat race going towards it, and loads of people are going to do it. And I think there's like 4 films doing it now, so it's about to just get flooded with that. And I'm hoping for us that in this market now, loads of people are going to start doing it. There's been Alice in Terrorland, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It's all getting flooded. Everyone's just trying to bash these out as quick as they can, but we're trying to take a bit of a different strategy with it. So we don't want to just be taking every single IP we possibly can. We want to look at the ones which we selectively think will make a good horror film, and then make sure the quality's there for it, which is why I hope people see with Winnie 2. I personally think it's a huge step up in all areas relative to Winnie 1. And if people like that and that gets received well, then we're only going to keep going with that approach. And Winnie 3 will be, budget will go up even more, we'll get even more creative, we'll make it even bigger, but that only happens with people's support. We're not trying to go down a cash grabby route of just taking every like IP under the sun, because we've produced 40 films. We could have like in 1 year before, if we wanted, we could have done everything by now. We could have had every IP out there possible. But I don't think that's the best approach for long-term success with what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, and then obviously we have the note that there's like and I think this is like hearing it and saying it, like the Poohniverse. I was like, that's just brilliant. Like, I was like, come on. Like, I feel like that alone should just get everybody involved. And like, is there with that, is there one particular title, one particular character that you're both most excited to explore, or for people to see in all of their horrific disgusting glory?
So I think after we've got 3 films which are from all by different directors. So I've been focusing on Winnie, Scott's been doing Peter Pan, and our friend Dalan, who's a bit of an up-and-coming British director, is focusing on Bambi. But after these are done, there's one character we're going to be focusing on, Pinocchio. And Pinocchio, we've been in talks with Todd Masters to design the doll and create it. And he's the guy, his company made Chucky. So you can see the kind of direction that's going. And I think there's a lot of fun to be had with Pinocchio. You can imagine his nose is a bit, I don't know, he's got like a telescopic nose. He's maybe behind a chair lying, and then his nose snaps through and stabs someone. Like, he's got his strings, he's like breaking from. There's a lot of fun to be had with that character. So we're both really excited to get that in the works.
Yeah. And Scott, are you able to drop anything about Peter Pan, or is it all hush hush?
Yeah, no, yeah, I can. Like, Peter Pan is like, I want it to tonally be really, really dark. Like one of my favorite films is, well, in a really, really twisted, dark way, is Hounds of Love from Australia.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah.
So that's actually one of my main I actually offered the guy Peter Pan, but he was busy. But I really like in that the relationship between the couple, and that is something that I'm playing with very heavily. This is like the biggest like hint as where I'm going with it with Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. That is going to be very reflected in their relationship in my film, because when I direct, it's going to be more. I'm a lot more excited by characters and how manipulation and all that kind of stuff in horror. I think is really really important to play into suspense and if someone's desperate, that's horrible because what were they willing to do for you? So yeah, mine is a mix between Hounds of Love, a film called Switchblade Romance, which is also called High Tension. It's a French film. That's another.
Okay.
That's one of my favorites. So that, and then a little bit of Black Phone. So I'd say those three mixed together with my own thing on it is where I'm going with it. But essentially, the plot is Wendy's little brother Michael is abducted, and she has to find him basically. But I want it to be intense. I want the performances gritty as hell. Wendy is going to go through it. A bit of fun. Tinkerbell injects heroin, and she thinks it's pixie dust. So that's a bit of fun. So yeah, I'm gonna have fun with that. But it's gonna be it's gonna be tonally really different to Rhys, and that's the good thing about this little world we're creating. We let the filmmakers play to their strengths. Like my strength is in like characters and suspense and being in the moment. Rhys loves like the wacky B movie gore in your face sort of thing. Dan, he loves like I would say he's in the middle of us. Like I'm more serious. Rhys is like the wacky one, and in the middle is Dan. It's a bit of both of us. But yeah, we just let people make what they feel like they'll excel at. I don't want to tell someone how to direct something. It's like no, you tell me how you're gonna do this the best. And then with obviously Poohniverse, I've got so many ideas. Like I want some of them to go against each other, like Freddy vs. Jason. I want to see some versing. Like I'm not just making this film for other people. Honestly, I want to see this film. Like I've always wanted a film with like Hellraiser, Chucky, Scream, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I would love that, but it will never happen because the distributors, the production companies, they'll never do that. But I can do that with my own way. And I want some of them to verse, not I want some of them not to see eye to eye. And then I have this idea, just like we want to close down a road, and I want to see the whole line of them just walking down this fucking road on this really cool shot, and I just want them hacking anyone up in front of them.
Like imagine actually seeing Winnie the Pooh riding Bambi. Imagine him walking or like riding on Bambi into battle. How mad that would be. That's what we want to make
with
happen.
A pop song. We were saying, weren't we, with like a pop song, some crazy we want to pop song.
Find some really good song.
A good like needle drop moment. Just let them go. I mean,
and he's got his little chain with the bear trap. Yeah.
Well, now I'll be watching these movies going, I now need to see Winnie the Pooh riding Bambi into battle with a pop song behind it. I won't settle for anything less now. No, but seriously, thank you guys for taking the time out. Like these films are like, it's just so much fun just to see people, really like flex their creativity and show just like what you can do within your limitations, but showing that you don't have limitations as well. Like I just think we need they're horror movies. Just like take watch it for what
exactly.
It is. Basically, it's like fuck everybody else.
It's not an A24 film. It's definitely a popcorn. Have a bit of fun.
It's a different
bring your friends in and just go have fun. Forget about
life
for an hour and a half.
Yeah. But I'm very excited to see where everything goes. Now that I know that Peter Pan's going to be a little bit high tensiony, I was like, if you top the staircase scene, I'll be all for it. So that's my challenge to you.
Okay. I've already got one scene that I think might contend, but yeah, we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, awesome. No, well, thank you so much for taking the time out. I'm looking forward to everything that the Poohniverse brings.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks for your time.
Cheers. No worries.
Cheers.
Thank you.
See ya.